It's In the Field Radio, y'all.
Everything's real in the field.
On 91.3 FM, WVKR.
Welcome to In the Field Radio. I'm Erin Boogie. I'm here with Lady D.
What's going on?
Shout out to us for recording ourselves in the studio, but then messing it up and not recording, and now here we are again. Take two.
We gotta say everything we said again.
I know, but it's so hard. We were having such a good conversation. But you know what? I'm still proud of us for coming up in here and recording ourselves after like a Crash Pro Tools session.
Yeah, so Titan Music gave us the crash course. And now we're in here recording ourselves in an actual studio.
And that's not really that easy to do.
No, Pro Tools is hard.
Yes, that's why most people just mess with GarageBand or something like that at the crib. But here we are in a professional studio setting with the
mess with GarageBand.
But 20 minutes of video that tells us what to do. And here we are.
Video and written notes. I wrote stuff down.
I was planning on doing that when I got home later tonight, actually, because I'm so much better with like the written notes than I am. Like, and I also like I don't want to have to like scroll back through 20 minutes worth of video to find out where something like some instruction I need is.
Yeah, but yeah, that was awesome. Now we're professional engineers.
Hit us for studio time. Psych.
Don't hit us for studio time.
Yeah, no. Hit Titan Music for studio time. He got the keys to the studio. We're just here for In the Field Radio purposes.
Right.
But we have to discuss the elephant.
You want to address the elephant in the room?
Right away.
Okay.
Let's get it over with. Well, only because that's like the wildest story that I've heard in a long time, and I'm still having a hard time coming to terms with the fact that it actually happened the way that it went down. So tell the story for the people that might not know, because it's been happening for a couple days online, but without me apparently.
Okay, so if you've been seeing the memes and the discourse about the elephant, apparently this elephant stomped this woman to death because the woman allegedly assisted in the poaching of the elephant's baby. The woman threw rocks to distract the elephant while people stole her baby. So the elephant came back to seek revenge. And while that lady was getting water, the elephant caught her lacking and stomped her to death.
But that's not where the story ended.
No.
Maybe where that lady's life ended, but it's not where the story ended.
At all. It gets
worse.
More bizarre. So the funeral is happening for the woman. And who comes through and crashes the funeral but the elephant? So the elephant comes busting through the funeral and stomps the lady some more.
Yeah, no. And it wasn't the craziest part of the story, I don't think. But they said that several hours after the elephant came back and stomped the lady's body out, they continued on with the funeral.
Yeah, that's crazy. The elephant comes through, stomps the lady out at the funeral, throws the body, and then gets with his elephant posse and goes into the village and stomps like the homes in the village and stuff. Like I wouldn't be at that lady's funeral anymore. Like my house got stomped because you was helping the poachers.
Listen, I just need to know, like I really want to have the elephant on the show.
Right.
To explain to us how the elephant knew when the funeral was.
I saw a picture of the elephant sitting down with Oprah.
That's what I'm saying, but like, why everybody gotta go to Oprah? Why they can't come to In the Field Radio?
I don't know. People like to tell Oprah the truth.
I have a hard time, I guess, like processing this entire story because, like, when I saw the video too, it was like without context, right? So it was just like a snippet of like the people sad at the funeral, and then all of a sudden, an elephant busts through the door and starts throwing people, right? So I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. And then you're like, well, what's the backstory here? And then you read the story and you're like, so this elephant murdered this woman, showed up at the funeral. Yes. Like, how did the elephant, like, that's the crazy part to me, right? So the elephant is an animal, right? So we don't really give animals enough credit, I guess.
Yeah, now all of a sudden they're like, elephants are revengeful creatures. Like, I've never heard that. I've heard majestic.
No, I was reading and they said that like they're not normally unless they're provoked. So like they're like if you I guess they were saying that in over there where it was that some of these Asian elephants are like targeted, they're like beat and abused and stabbed.
This was in India,
for
like the tusk
like
and
entertainment purposes. No, for like entertainment purposes, so like tourism and stuff.
Oh no.
And so like these elephants are like that something must have happened to this elephant, right? That or could have happened to this elephant and his herd, like prior to all these other things
over
happening.
time.
Yeah.
And then maybe the baby thing was the last straw.
Yes. And then, but still, it's like we don't give these animals enough credit to come through to say, like, okay, like this elephant was angry and like killed this woman, but like this elephant like got his crew together and came back and jumped the village and showed up at the funeral and destroyed the whole funeral.
Right. And I mean, most people are like, who told the elephant when the funeral was? I think the elephant maybe smelled it, because maybe the elephant was aware that it killed someone. I mean, I guess he knew who he killed, too. She's going to have the same smell, right? Maybe.
But, like, the elephant ran through the whole funeral.
Yeah. To get to her.
Yes.
Didn't stop anybody else, though.
Yes.
Didn't stop anybody else. Because I don't know if anybody else got stomped, but I didn't see any other reports of anybody else being stomped by her.
He ran through people to like get to the body, but wasn't like, oh, let me stop and
just get everyone,
destroy you or like stomp you or like throw you out the way. It was like I'm beelining straight to where I need to be.
I mean,
and that for me was the whole. I was like, oh, okay, like this elephant isn't playing. This elephant did not come here to play games.
It's very impressive, but I mean, I guess it's awful. But listen, no one's like, that elephant is wrong. The general consensus is, what did that lady do to the elephant?
Yes.
Are we victim blaming?
That's how I'm not sure because I don't feel equipped to discuss this situation and form an opinion because it's
no one
super
for
new to
a
me.
second thought that the elephant was just acting like on his own accord. Like everyone was like, that lady did something. Like even if they didn't know the whole story, they were like, what did she do?
That's like and you like discourage like victim shaming and victim blaming and stuff, but it's like it's an elephant, like for the elephant to kill you and then come back and re-kill you, like
you know what
I mean?
Nah,
like it's the elephant was real.
That's
angry.
not even normal. Like
wild. Well, something that I wanted to touch on that's less wild, but equally as educational. But also pertaining to the Hudson Valley, that's why I wanted to bring it up, was the new season of David Letterman's Next Guest Needs No Introduction dropped on Netflix. And he did an interview with Cardi B, and it was a cute interview. It was a good interview, but it pertains to the Hudson Valley because Cardi B and David Letterman came up to the Roosevelt Presidential Library in Hyde Park.
Ooh.
So the premise of it's a formal sit-down interview, and then David Letterman usually takes them into like their home or like a place that's like personal to them for a portion of the interview, and then they'll like intertwine like the scenes. So for her, she went to a bodega, like classic Cardi B Bronx, and then came up here to the FDR Library in Hyde Park. And I guess they were here earlier this year in February filming and took a tour. They were able to like walk around the presidential library and the president's former home, and they had some of the like tour people there, and like, well, obviously it was like a big deal for them, so it was like, I think like the head of like the presidential library museum and stuff like that was there, and then they just kind of like walked around filming, and when they had questions, the people were on hand to answer their questions. And one of the things that I didn't know and I found interesting, because Cardi B has inserted herself into politics, like she sat down with Bernie Sanders and stuff, so like I knew she was into that, but she told the story of how she got into presidents. I guess she's super into presidents, and Roosevelt is her favorite. I guess when she was in elementary school, they were supposed to go on a field trip, and for whatever reason she couldn't go, and she stayed behind, and one of the assignments that she had to do was about presidents. And when she learned about Roosevelt, she found out that Eleanor Roosevelt had the same birthday as her. And so that became like her favorite president, and so she like did a bunch of research on him and stuff. So for me, it was cool seeing a piece of the Hudson Valley in the interview, and I feel like the Hudson Valley has gotten recognized a lot more lately. Like, you know, during COVID, some of the newscasters and stuff were like up here in the Hudson Valley in their Hudson Valley homes broadcasting. So, but like, it was cool to see a rapper come up here to a presidential library and museum, and now like those kids that will look up to her and stuff, because I don't think Cardi B doesn't get enough credit, I think, for being educated outside of just like her music and being sexy and that sort of thing. Right. So it was like really cool to see that side of her, and then also have it take place like in our backyard.
Right. So, I mean, it's ticking me off a little bit that you're the only one I've heard talk about this.
Really? Because I saw articles.
But they could talk about, articles happen, obviously, but I'm talking about like the general public speaking on Cardi B. You could see a million when WAP dropped. Oh man. A million people posting, oh, this is what our kids are looking up to. Oh my goodness, blah blah blah. She, you know, you don't want people being like Cardi B. You want them like Lauryn Hill, who ain't no better. But anyway.
Well, to be honest, if like breaking it down that way, if I was gonna ask my daughter to look up to somebody, it's not gonna be Lauryn Hill.
Okay.
it's
Can
not.
we just say
she makes great music, but she's had some real rough years where Cardi B has been an entrepreneur. She's college educated. You know,
has her own husband and not someone else's.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know, shows up to shows
on time.
Okay. People don't be knowing what they're talking about, but that is very interesting and awesome, and
I hope we start to see more things like that intertwined with hip hop. Yeah, especially like with the attention that drill rap has gotten recently, for being negative, and the shooting, the violence, the death. Like, I would rather talk about Cardi B coming up here to the presidential library than seeing another kid out there on the streets getting shot.
But you know what? You know what's crazy about that? That you say, you know, a lot of violence is attributed to rap music and drill and stuff like that. There's a lot of shooting. Well, there was a shooting in Texas. A lot of shooting in Texas. Shooting in Buffalo, in boom hick towns, okay? And I don't know what they're listening to over there, but I highly doubt it's drill music. That's all I'm saying.
Talk about it.
But, you know, I digress.
But now, I'm going to get back on track. I'm going to play the interview with Zach Zoya. He's from Canada. And then we're going to come back. In the Field Radio, Lady D, Erin Boogie.
Hey, are you thinking about starting your own podcast? Well, you can stop overthinking it, because the hardest part is actually getting started. And that's where Buzzsprout comes in. Buzzsprout makes it easy to launch your podcast and has already helped over 100,000 people just like you start and grow their own podcast. With Buzzsprout, you can have your show listed on all major platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. You'll get a great-looking podcast website, audio players you can embed on other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening, tools to promote your episodes, and more. Stop waiting. Start your own podcast today and get a $20 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes below. This lets Buzzsprout know we sent you, and it helps support our show. Welcome back to In the Field Radio. I'm Erin Boogie. I'm here with Lady D, and we're here with Zach Zoya.
Hey y'all, how are you guys?
We're pretty good. We can't complain. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for having me.
So for those that might not be familiar, who is Zach Zoya? How would you describe yourself to our listeners?
I describe myself as a 24-year-old singer, songwriter, rapper from Montreal, Canada. And I've been making music for about 7 years now, maybe professionally. And I make R&B, I make hip hop, I make good vibes. I have fun.
We love good vibes on this show. Okay, so you're from a small town in Canada. How do you pronounce it? I don't want to butcher it, but when I see it, I know that I will butcher it.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So it's called Rouyn-Noranda. And if you would want to say it, I guess with the English pronunciation, it would be like Rouyn-Noranda or something like that.
So what was Noranda? I just wanted to
exactly. Yeah, that's good. First try, that was pretty good.
What was it like growing up there?
Boring and cold, if I'm being honest. mainly boring and cold, very rocky. It's like a mining city, or mine-based region. But it was also, I guess, very open, very safe, I guess you could say. A lot of opportunities, a lot of kids where I was from. And so I think now, look, I hated it as a kid, hated it. And I just could not wait to leave. And now that I have left, I can see how down the road somebody could be like, yeah, I'm trying to move far away from everything and have a nice, quiet little life where you hunt in the summer and you go ice fishing in the winter, you know? So it's just not my vibe for the moment. I took the music route, but
isn't it funny how that works out though? It's like the older you get, the more you just want to hear like birds chirping and go fishing on the weekend.
Exactly. I'm getting old. I'm getting so old.
Was there a lot of music around you, or did you have to like leave the area to do it?
So there's around me, like an environment, like at school and everything, like in the life in the city, absolutely not, like zero. But I come from a family that's very, I guess, music driven. Nobody's a musician, nobody plays an instrument, but music is always being played in the house. We used to dance a lot as kids, the usual African family, if I can say. And we happen to have like I didn't have a TV, I have a computer. So most of like my free time, or like my downtime, if I can say, where I wasn't doing anything, I would be just sitting in front of the stereo and just playing CDs, you know? So I guess that's where it comes from, my love for music.
What were some of the struggles you faced trying to make music in a small town and try to make it a career?
Well, I could say that I didn't really start making music because exactly, you wouldn't really see a lane, like an avenue for that to be successful. So I didn't really start or consider music as a career path. When I lived in Hawaii, it took a minute. It took me to move to Montreal, which is the closest, biggest city, and try it out there for it to become like a serious thing. Like I was like freestyling at parties. I wasn't really in the music world like that. I was more of an athlete. And then I had a kind of an abrupt switch when I moved out of my hometown, and I just switched my whole, like I dropped out of school very quickly and dedicated myself to music 100%. So
who are your like influences? And they could be from America, not America, like anywhere.
Yeah, I would say they're mostly American. But there's a bit of French from France artists in there. Of course, a bunch of homegrown Quebecers, French Canadians. But I would say mostly, so what it comes down to is the CDs I had at home. So I didn't grow up on Kanye West. I grew up on Graduation from Kanye West. Okay. I didn't grow up on, you know what I mean? I didn't grow up on Usher. I grew up on Confession of Usher. You know what I mean? Like very specific CDs that we just happen to have, and I would play them over and over and over and over and over again. But I would say those two I just named, Usher, Chris Brown, early Chris Brown, the Black Eyed Peas, the more I think about it, had a big role in like what I like in music. I remember I also had like the 8 Mile soundtrack, so it was like a mix of like Eminem, 50, Jay-Z, D12, you know, a bit of that. A bit of African music, Soweto Gospel Choir and stuff like that, Fela Kuti, a bit of like older music. I guess it was a bit of Elvis, a lot of Michael, of course, some like Simon and Garfunkel, I think that's what they say. Yeah, a bunch of other ones that slipped my mind, but that's like the pool, you know?
I like how you put that.
Yeah.
Not this person, but this specific project. Like, okay, because there's a whole vibe that comes with it, and everyone could think about what they were doing in their life, like around that time.
Exactly.
Extremely specific time periods.
Yeah.
What was the hip hop scene like in Montreal?
Montreal has a rich hip hop scene. The thing is, we have it's French. So we speak French in Quebec specifically, right? So we speak French and English. So there's a strong and rich and very diverse French scene in the hip hop world and in the pop world, just in the music show business in general. It's like a closed bubble. You can think of it as like, some country in Europe that you wouldn't necessarily think of. Like Denmark probably has pop stars and like that live within that market and sing and Danish, and it's basically the same thing, but in Quebec. So we have a strong hip hop scene, and I'm very fortunate to have been embraced by the French Canadian scene, even though I was performing in English, because they put me on in my first shows, they put me on in my first big events. There's really big events like Summertime in Montreal. It's a continuous festival from like, I'd say May to like August. Is just constant different festivals that promote the African culture, sometimes French culture specifically. Sometimes right now we got Mural, we had Skepta yesterday, like some of these events going popping in Montreal. So it's a very active culturally city, and I'm really happy to be here. Like, it's a good time for me to climb up as an artist, to say.
One of the things that we were both super interested in is that you were signed to a label where you were the only English artist, that you made the decision instead of being a French artist to be English. Like, what made you choose English?
I think it was never, so I would have never made music if it was to be in French. And I just had that conversation actually with one of my homies, where it's like, in Quebec, unfortunately, Quebec is an island of French and a continent of English. And so we have to protect the language, and there's laws in place for that, for the protection of the language. But what that does is, in the defense of the French language and in trying to protect the French language, you also push the English in a defense mechanism. You kind of cut yourself away and try to push away, I guess, other languages that are seen as threatening, especially English. And unfortunately, there's a big association between being a Quebecer with being French and white. And so me, as a mixed person with like African descent, I'm born a full Keb, right? But I don't have the full list of things I'm not white. I don't got the white factor. So I'm not totally a Quebecer. And so I don't think that was reflective. So when you see television, when you see music, when you see, radio, there's the representation of Black people is very little, because they want to emphasize the French culture. And by doing so, they kind of push away all the immigrants, unfortunately. And I'm part of that population. And so I never saw myself on television. I never saw myself on radio. When I was listening to French music, not only was it French, but it was white. It was white. And so people that looked like me and that I could relate to were American for the most part. A couple of European people were mostly American. And so when we talk music, if we're speaking of music, the only way, if I was going to make music, I never considered French, because I wasn't doing it. I wasn't enjoying it. That wasn't my music, for lack of a better term, right? So as soon as I got into, like, my whole life, I was listening to English music because that's what I connected with. And then when came time to go out there, English was a logical choice. And I also think another point to that is I'm a very ambitious person. And like I just said, the French market is a bubble. So it's very rich, but it's self-contained, and it's really hard to get out of if you're very pro-eminent, or like, I guess, if you're one of the staples of that industry, you're kind of stuck, I guess, in it, or that's one of my fears as somebody that's within that bubble. So me wanting to reach the world, I don't want to limit myself to only one language. The simple fact that French people listen to English music and English people tend to not listen to French music.
That's a super accurate assessment.
Yeah.
Right?
So what made you start taking music seriously as a career?
So I guess it started with my friends, for sure. Once I was doing music for myself in the beginning, like maybe 2 or 3 songs. It was very quick that I was trying a little something and partying, like freestyling at parties, and people were like, "Oh, you're really good at this." And I was like, "Oh, am I? Let me try to write a song and then post it." And people were like, "Oh, you're good. Oh, am I? Okay, let me try to write another one." And then it just kept on piling up. But I guess my biggest thing would be my first shows. Like when I first got booked for shows, I guess I was a big, it's my first real project that I dropped on SoundCloud. And that got me kind of, I guess, recognized by I basically got co-signed by a lot of the French acts that were, in the same environment as me, in the same scene, kind of OGs, if you will, that very quickly went like, "Yo, you're good," even though it was a different language. They were like, "Yo, you're good, keep doing that." And so it was kind of a big, "Oh, approval, let's get it, I'm good. If they think I'm good and they're established, I'm good to go." So that must have been around 17. I'm 24 now. about 70 years ago.
Let's talk about your latest project.
Yes, No Love Is Ever Wasted.
How do you feel about it?
He's excited.
Yeah, I was gonna say you look like you feel great about
He's got
it.
mad excited.
Yes.
Like, yay.
Yes. Yes, I am excited about it. It's super nice for me to finally, like, it's funny because we're not in person, but to finally do these in person, like the promo tour and everything, just talking to people and seeing the excitement. Like I said, there's a big festival right now in Montreal. The whole street I'm on is closed down. It's full of like a pedestrian traffic. It's full of like different stages. And like I said, Skepta was there yesterday, a bunch of local artists as well. And to see the people react to my music and come to me and tell me how much they like it is such a leap. It's like kilometers, miles away from what it was for my other
No,
project,
we love the
right?
kilometers. We love the kilometers.
Go a kilometer then. So Spectrum was great. Spectrum is my first project that I dropped sometime last year or the year before. I don't even know anymore. The response was there, but it was through a phone. You know what I mean? It was mostly through Instagram growth and people liking my stuff more than actual people coming to you and saying, I like this, going to the radio station and seeing them play it and da 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 da. So I'm as excited I'm excited as can be.
So it's a super solid project, and I had a hard time picking which songs I wanted to discuss with you. So I know Upper Hand, you just released a video with that when you released the project. So what was your favorite memory from that video shoot?
Honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is shooting with my homie. Like Saran, the feature on there, is one of my best friends. We hang out all the time. He's also signed to the same label as me, not the independent one, Universal Canada. And so we relate on a lot of stuff and we can talk about a lot of stuff, and we go back home and make a beat, and then we get to work together. So that's a blessing. You get to work with your friends, you know? So I guess that's the biggest memory, the biggest thing I retain from that experience. And that mixed in with just the wonderful people I get to work with. You know, Dan the director on there is amazing. And I also got my creative director is also one of my good friends, and he was basically involved in everything. So it's a very personal thing. I get to work with the people I love, and it's cool. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, that's a blessing to be able to work with your friends like that.
Mm-hmm.
What did you want your listeners to take away from the album?
No pressure. What do I want people to take away from this album? Because it's multiple things, right? It's definitely not just one thing. But if I had to say one thing, I guess hopefully an introduction for a lot of people to my music. I think I'm hitting different markets. Like I said, Quebec is a bubble. I think I'm already pretty established, if I can say, back where I'm from here. And I think this project is the first one that's really traveling outside of Canada and the rest of Canada. And as an introduction, I guess, hey, look at this good looking, talented little dude that's doing this thing over here. It's kind of what I want people to take away from it. But that's more on the super, like, surface level stuff. If I had to say anything, I think I'm being pretty vulnerable on there. It's mainly like emotion based. Everything revolves around love, right? It's about relationships and also just love in general, love for life, love for what you're doing, love for the people around you. And I think that's the main thing I want to, that's my message that I don't really say explicitly, but it's like, especially as men, you have to be able to communicate these emotions. I think I'm very lucky as an artist to get to be like, I have an avenue for my emotions. I'm very vulnerable on there. I'm sad and happy and shy and jealous. And I think I talk about all these emotions on there. And I hope I know a lot of people, a lot of men and a lot of people in general can relate to these things. And sometimes as men, you don't really want to talk about it. You don't really want to, especially showcase it. Like you won't put it forward like that. And I think that's what, be vulnerable, be open.
That's awesome. That's important.
And then talk a little bit about the meaning behind the title, No Love Is Ever Wasted, because I really loved that. explanation.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I
Did
did
it come together for you?
Yeah. It's coming together. So basically I did speak a bit on that. So I was looking at the songs I had. I was looking at my catalog, like the songs I really wanted to drop, and I realized that they were all love songs. Like somewhere I thought I was writing about something else, but they always they end up back in the love song category. And the biggest lesson that I take away from that is like through trials and tribulation, like I said, love not only of your significant other, but of things in life. I had realized that I would feel like time that was spent on things that weren't maybe directly rewarding or didn't get you the result you expected felt like I've wasted time. So what's a good example? Working out. You work out for 2 months, and then if you don't finish your workout, you feel like I just wasted that time doing something and didn't get the result. Or in a relationship, you're with somebody for 3 years and then you're not with that person anymore, and it feels like, I wasted those 3 years. But no, it's basically me telling myself that no, that time is not wasted. Anytime you put any passion and energy you give out to the world, it comes back to you through, well, I believe it comes back to you through lessons, through experience, through just living experience. And I think there's always something to be learned from that. And if I could like say an example, like a relationship is a perfect example. A conflict you might have had once, if it comes back, if it arises again, you kind of know what to not do. What happened the first time in that relationship that didn't work, maybe don't do it again. Could be a good way to go forward. So like no love is ever wasted. You didn't lose time in that experience. It was worthwhile. And it's also an invitation to not be scared to try new things or to try things you might not succeed in doing, because you'll gain experience, maybe not the experience you expected from that experience, but you're gonna learn something. And so it's important to still put yourself out there. Still, once again, be vulnerable with your emotions, like be open, because if you're so scared to get hurt or that it doesn't become and we live foreverly, forever happily forever after. Yeah, that one. If it's not that, it doesn't mean you failed. You know what I mean? So it's important to understand that no love is ever wasted. Go ahead, keep pushing. And it might fail 20 times again, but it won't be wasted time. So
I love that message. I think that's such an important message. And sometimes I think it's good for people to hear that too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's good for me to hear it, because that's usually what I end up thinking, like, oh my God, I just wasted all this time.
Hey? No love is ever wasted.
Oh, okay. If you say
Ever.
so. All right, I'll believe you.
Now going from the deep no love is ever wasted concept to the strangers in the house. There was a stranger in the house.
Yes.
So you got to
Sure.
tell a little bit. Deb, you kind of missed that from like the pre-recording conversation, but there was actually a stranger in the house and it was messing up the vibe.
Yeah, you missed my little spiel. So we usually go to Saran, who's on the song with me and produced the song as well. Once again, he's on a lot of songs. Like I said, it's my good personal friend. And so we were at his house doing the usual session where we're kind of just hanging outside on the patio and just talking, chopping it up before we usually get in after like a little 30-minute and start making music, just started to jam it up. And one of the neighbors, somebody from the neighborhood, let me just put it that vaguely, with his dog, small dog, comes at us and just starts talking and, friendly chit chat. It's cool, but we were just about to get in and start making music. And he's kind of like hanging on to the conversation. He kind of wants to, hey, can I come in with you guys? Hey, let me get a drink too. Hey, I might as well can I just listen while I make music? But he's making continuous comments and he talks a lot and we're trying to make music. And so I decided to, because I couldn't write about anything because I couldn't focus because he was talking and there was a dog in the corner. I was fighting with the cat of the owner of the house, which is Ryan. So I started writing about him. The disturbance was my best source of inspiration in the moment. So Strangers in the House was born.
Strangers in the House.
Yo.
I love it. As soon as I heard that story, it's like all the lyrics just totally, you're like, oh man, he was really going through it with this stranger in the house.
And once again, that's one of the songs where I start off talking about that. And then it kind of veers off into a love song because I kind of go on and it's kind of a monologue, right? I'm talking about things and it's kind of like I'm
the
literally
song evolves.
saying it. I'm tired of writing love songs. I just can't escape it. It just goes there. It just and by the way, I'm tired of writing love songs, and then you go on. So yeah.
So what did it mean to be named one of YouTube's trending artists on the rise?
It's cool. It's cool. It's refreshing. It's good to see your name out there. It's good to, it's like checkpoints. You know what I mean? It's like some of these things are just like, they're like glowy billboards. We just got a billboard too in Toronto. And some of these stuff is just, it's rewarding. It's okay. Good. You're doing a good job. Keep going. Boom, 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 boom. You can't really, you can't stay stuck with it. You know what I mean? You have to keep going, but it's such a validating thing. And thank you so much for everybody at YouTube and like the rest of the team that puts everything. Because there's a part of this that's like 100% me just making music, but we're also a full army of people working for my name to go out there. So that's like that's a big, guys, we're doing a good job to everybody involved, not just me,
All right, so now we are going to ask the fun questions. What is your recording process like? Do you write or do you just go off the top, or does it depend?
Oof, I lost the off the top capability a long time ago. That is long gone now. Now what I usually do, I'm fortunate once again to have people in the room with me, so I get to listen to them producers build the beat from ground up. So as soon as I just stay in the corner, I do my little thing, I meditate, I listen to what they're doing. As soon as I get an idea, I lock in, and then I tend to write my full thing before I hop on the mic. So I tend to want it to be all structured as one big story or one big, like I said, monologue or whatever before I actually record it. That's how I usually go about it. But sometimes I'll just try to put, especially choruses or like ad-libby stuff, or like where you want really the energy, when the energy is more important than what you're actually saying. Sometimes I'll just go off the top, but most of the time I try to think of every single word, and it can be a problem.
Is there any artists or producers that you would want to work with in the future?
For sure. There's tons. Like I said, anybody from the Black Eyed Peas, holla at me. I don't know if the group's still a group, but I'm here. I could be the fifth one. Are they four? Fifth? Whatever. I'm down for whatever. I say Pharrell often when that comes up. I would love to work with Smino. I think Smino is really dope. There's many. I know, like, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but Muram Masa, so the producer of Pink Panthers over in the UK. I think they do some incredible stuff. And there's so many others. Like, I always, when I'm being asked that question, I struggle because there's artists you want to collab with and there's artists you'd make good music with. And I think those are two very different things. Like I could have said Kendrick, Drake, The Weeknd, Justin Bieber, also. And let me say all of those for sure, all of the above. But sometimes it's not because you like somebody's music that it's the best fit. You know what I mean? I think we see that often in like big names that are, branded together. They do a collab and it's like the hype is there, but then you listen to the song and it's not better than, it's not the sum of both, right? It's like maybe even not as good because the two are attached together and it's just kind of sometimes it clashes. So you got to be careful.
See, now you're making me want to restructure that question for the future. Now I want to know who people think they would make good music. I want to know who people think they would make good music with.
Let's go. You're welcome.
I've asked people who they would allow to like write for them. Like if somebody could make a song for you, who would you allow to?
I like that.
Yeah, that's so good. I would definitely love Pooh Bear to write for me, or maybe a Capella Gray, or I forgot her name. I think her name is Naija. Super good songwriter. A couple of these for sure.
And what can we expect next from Zach Zoya?
More music, more shows. I am working and planning on traveling a lot more now the world is opening back up. We're going back to normal, I'm trying for sure. People, real life. Hey. I'm planning on coming back to the States as soon as possible. I want to see Europe a lot more. I want to collaborate with people face to face. I think I've missed that. And a lot more music. I think the goal is to start and never stop type of thing, especially in this day and age where you kind of got to stay afloat. People have a short attention span, and there's a lot of music out there. So, and I got a lot of music, so might as well show people. I want to keep it moving, and I'm excited to show people what I got in the bank. So, yes, and a lot of shows this summer too. We're doing a bunch of festivals here. We're doing Osheaga, which is a big festival in Montreal, doing a bunch of other ones all around the region and the country, and probably be back in the States by sometime September, August type vibe. We'll see how the vibes are.
Well, let our listeners know where they can find you on social media, where they can find your music, so that way they can stay in tune with your movement. And then when you do come back to the States, they can all come out to your shows.
Yes. So you can find me at Zach Zoya, ZACHZOYA, on pretty much any platform. It's pretty lucky nobody took my name. I don't know. I thought it would be like an easy grab, but nobody got it. So TikTok, IG, Twitter, Facebook, still I'm popping. What else? Email. I shouldn't give my email, but it's Zach Zoya, so it's too late.
Now the listeners are going to be emailing you like, please listen to my beat.
Let's work.
Exactly.
You're gonna have strangers in the email too.
Exactly.
Mhm.
That's the follow-up record to Strangers in the House.
Strangers in the Gmail.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to sit with us.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me. Those were nice questions.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Welcome back to In the Field Radio. I'm Erin Boogie here with Lady D.
What's going on?
Man, so that interview with Zach was super great. He's got a real dope album out. He talked about it in the interview, No Love Is Ever Wasted. Make sure you go check that out on all streaming platforms. We were super excited about that interview, so we're really happy that you guys got to hear it. Just an update, we have the Sessions Live event, the talent show is being rescheduled from June 26th to July 24th. So
you got a whole extra month to prepare.
Yeah, we definitely forgot about it.
No, not y'all.
No, I know, but like also for us, because we got so focused on Kiki performing at the 116th Street Festival that we just forgot that we had a showcase coming up. So you guys get to reap the benefits of our error. So make sure you stay in tune with that. sessionspoughkeepsie@gmail.com if you're looking for more information on how you can participate. You can hit us at info@inthefieldradio.com too. And now we get into my favorite part of the week, the Roach of the week.
Ew.
There's a cockroach right there. There's a roach.
All right, so this week for my Roach of the week, I chose to go with Amber Heard. Yes, I felt like I've been wanting to give her the Roach of the week for a couple weeks since the trial, but we haven't recorded a new intro, outro together since then. But she just went and did an interview.
She did?
Yes.
Ooh.
And she brought like a binder of psych notes from like her therapist that she said verifies her claims of abuse, but the reason why it wasn't allowed in court was because it's considered hearsay. So it doesn't necessarily substantiate anything that happened. And she kind of said some other things in the interview. It was with Savannah Guthrie. The interview was not that great. It was really weird. And I kind of want to add Savannah Guthrie to the Roach of the week.
Because did you pay her? Because she got a bill now. So like...
Well, the Savannah Guthrie part of it was because she didn't ask like any groundbreaking questions, but she also appeared very biased. She appeared Team Johnny Depp in the interview, and I felt like as a journalist, it's okay to ask the tough questions, but you also have to, when you're doing an interview of that magnitude, you kind of have to leave your opinion at the door and just let the information flow.
Right.
And so the interview just got real weird.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So it's just the hits keep on coming for her because then you went and did an interview. You already lost.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went and did an interview and they wasn't even on your side.
Yeah.
So it didn't help.
No.
Oh no. I didn't really keep up with it, but I just feel like they both did things to each other. There is no way.
So I wasn't into it at first, and then I started watching it because I work from home and I really don't have anything better to do but live stream stuff. So I was like, you know what? Like, this is on. It's relevant. It's pop culture. It's the phenomenon of the day. Like, I have a radio show. Like, I should be tapped into this stuff.
Yes.
So,
no, for sure.
So I watched it, and to be honest, like, she just came across like a psychopathic liar the whole time. And a lot of the evidence that was introduced really pointed to Johnny Depp winning the case.
Really?
Yeah. And the case wasn't, so that's the other thing that we have to separate in our minds, is the case, it was a defamation suit. So it wasn't, did he abuse her or did she abuse him? That's not what the root of the case was.
Yeah.
It was, did she say false statements about him that impacted his life and career? And the jury agreed that that happened and that her claims were unsubstantiated. And Johnny Depp was also found liable for much less in damages, but he was found responsible for something that his attorneys said. So it wasn't even something that he said, it was something that his attorney said on his behalf. And so that's where that's where, because she countersued him for defamation, and that's where the part where everyone's like, well, they both lost and they both won because they each owed each other some money, but she owed him substantially more. She was awarded only $2 million, I think, in the suit, but it was over a comment that his attorneys made on his behalf, saying that her claims were fabricated. So yeah, real weird. Glad it's over. Really hope that they could all just move on at this point. That's where we're at.
I hope so. I don't know how we're gonna forget that.
Ever.
They were off the hook, man. My Roach of the week is gonna have to go to Crew Restaurant. Yesterday.
And honestly, I haven't been there, so I don't have anything to contribute to.
Well, we were just talking about
your
it, and
experience.
Crew got all this hype, and they had an article, and they were the best and all this. So I take my dad there for Father's Day. So I made a reservation. We get there, we're seated quickly, and that was great. You know, we give the order and all that, and then it went downhill from there.
Oh no.
We were, first of all, Crew is not even that big. And we were waiting for an hour to an hour and a half. First of all, we didn't get the appetizers, which was some wonton, like goat cheese wontons and 7 oysters. That took about 45 minutes.
Oh my
No
god.
lie. No
was
lie.
it busy?
I guess there was a party in the back, so it was kind of busy, but
Not
I don't
45
know.
minutes for an appetizer busy?
right. And then we got the food. It was like an hour and a half in, but like I said, the appetizer came out late, but they gave the first appetizer to somebody else that came in after us.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
And then she was like, "Did you get your appetizer?" And we did not. And then so there was like people around us who had came after us and who had came and left
Oh no.
before
No.
we got food.
No.
And I ain't even getting nothing crazy. Like I got blackened monkfish or whatever. Fish don't take long to cook. Everybody else, they don't even have an extensive menu. There's burgers, steaks, pasta.
What did
with
Mr.
shrimps.
Bell get?
He got, Mr. Bell got filet mignon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but like I said, and it was like market price. It was like a $60 filet mignon. He said it was not even that good to be that. I didn't like the monkfish. I don't
Oh,
even know what
no.
monkfish is. It honestly looked like cod. It was very salty.
Oh no.
So we sat at the chef's table. There was like a table, and then you could see them cooking and stuff like that. I don't want to say what I saw there.
I'm gonna need you to say what you saw.
No, because like I said, I don't want to be responsible for, but I'm just going to talk about my experience with my service and my food. And
Did they drop the food on the floor?
there was like some shelf thing above the grill. So I guess maybe they used it to keep things hot, because I would see like plates go up there sometimes, and then I would see like steaks get thrown up there, like literally tossed up in there, and then they would just grab it out and put it on the plate like when everything else was ready and things.
This be making me want to cook for myself
It was
when I hear these stories.
it was sketchy. I was like, maybe they should not let people sit here. But yeah, I did not have a good experience. I did not have a good meal. The lady never came back to refill the water. No one ever came by. If you see people waiting for an hour and a half or whatever, that's crazy. Somebody need to come say something. Somebody need to come apologize. Do we need anything? What
Free
have you?
dessert.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The owner, there was important people walking around. Nobody came over to say anything. And it was just crazy. I didn't like it. I will never go there.
I'm sorry that you guys had that experience.
Yeah, and it was expensive. It was expensive.
Crew needs to make it right. I hope they hear
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. But Roach of the Week, right over there.
So we got Roach of the Week recap, Crew,
Restaurant.
Amber Heard, and Savannah Guthrie. We're
Mhm.
throwing her in there too.
For real.
Man, well, I just want to say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers,
Happy Father's Day. We love the fathers.
especially Mr. Bell because he listens to the show
Right.
faithfully.
Love you, Dad.
And yeah,
Oh, yeah, let's remind them, yo. We got Thursdays now, too.
yep,
So Thursdays at 11, Mondays at 10.
all streaming
Platforms.
platforms for podcasts. We just did our little,
Yo, we recorded a commercial.
so now we're gonna drop a whole bunch of episodes at once. So make sure,
Oh, yeah, we're about to flood it.
yeah. So definitely tune in there, and then inthefieldradio.com, In the Field Radio on all social media,
THEE lady_D.
and Erin Boogie for me.
Okay.
Everywhere.
Send us emails.
Yeah.
info@inthefieldradio.com. If you have music you want to submit, just put a title in your name and send it. We will listen to it.
And hopefully we'll air it.
Yeah, most of the time we air it. Thanks for chilling with those chicks on Mondays.
And Thursdays. Have a good night.